Moo Gun-young and Choi Hyun-Wook are in my Dearest Nemesis, which is my latest K-drama watch. I want to do my first impressions. I've been wanting another romance drama slash rom-com to help fill in the gap that unfortunately Love Scout has left me. So I'm going to get into it and what I think the show does really well in and what I foresee as a problem. Hi, I'm Monique. I'm the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas and C-dramas and BTS and so much more. My dear Nemesis, the male and the female lead are both massive nerds, and I love that. I love gamer nerds. I love stories that involve people in fandoms and actually falling in love through shared interests. We first actually spent a lot of time with Moon Ga-young's character. The female lead, she comes off really strong. She is very independent, self-sufficient, bright student. She kind of gets picked on in the first few minutes of the show, but she is able to defend herself and she's able to kind of fight back, and she's very witty, and she's just someone that you cannot push over, which I really enjoyed. I think it's actually a breath of fresh air from her True Beauty counterpart. And yes, I know True Beauty is massively popular. I watched it. I read the webtoon. But I enjoy her more in this kind of role where she can definitely be more firm and strong. I'm just not really a fan of like wallflower, pushover type characters in K-dramas, even though they get the redemption arc. Anywho, she has a younger brother and she has her dad. Her mom's passed and no longer in the picture. As I said, she's very independent. She kind of has, unfortunately, as the older sister, has to play the maternal role to her brother because her father, while he works, he's not really in the picture as much. So you can often see her scolding her brother and just having to balance that role between being the big sister and playing the mom, and basically not having anyone to look out and protect for her. You know, she's on her own. We meet the male lead a little bit later in the episode because her brother is a massive gamer, and one night she just gets fed up and she starts like beating on him. She's like, can you get your head out of your butt and stop going on the effing computer? I'm just paraphrasing. And the brother is kind of like, just leave me alone. Like, there's a bunch of players that are making fun of me and I need to do well. I need to be a top scorer. So as soon as she hears that her brother's being made fun of, she kind of gets that sisterly pride where it's like, I'm the only one that can actually bully and harass you. I can't let anybody else talk down to you or make you feel inferior. So then she hops on and then she starts playing this game that her brother was in. And then she strikes up kind of a friendship with one of the players who ends up matching up with her later on, and they kind of have back and forth correspondence, and he goes by like the username Black Dragon. So they hit it off really well. She gets really immersed in the game, and then their friendship develops, and she starts to catch some feels. Mind you, they don't know what each other looks like yet. And this is kind of all told in flashback. Fast forward, there's a time now where she's really in her feelings and she could definitely see herself having a future with this guy, and there is a proposed meetup of all the different players that she's met through this game, including Black Dragon. She's excited, she's dressed up, she's all ready to go. She meets Black Dragon and the rest of the players, and Black Dragon is nothing what she thought he would look. He is significantly younger than her. I mean, significantly younger than her. Like, he is like 15 years old and she is like a lot older, and he is super nerdy, but he's into rock music and he's just adorable, and she's completely offended by the sight of him. And as the day progresses into night, she's getting more and more infuriated until finally she kind of cruelly rejects him, but he was doing a bit too much. They separate, and then we get a time jump into the future, and we're reintroduced to the main male lead as an adult, and he is now going to be this CEO that's going to be overtaking his father's business. His grandmother is pretty powerful in the family dynamics, and I don't think his father's in the picture anymore, and because of this, he has to overtake the father's business. He has to become the CEO, but he's still that nerdy 15-year-old that is heavily into fandom, loves manga, loves rock music, has all these interests, but it kind of clashes with the typical archetype of what a CEO is to present. So he kind of lives a double life. He has a run-in to the female lead in the future. They do not get off well. They do not get off well at all. And when they finally meet again as CEO and subordinate, because the company that he has to overtake for his father is her company, and she is known as the director killer. So she is very bright, she's very intelligent, but she's also someone that you cannot run over, and she steamrolls through so many of these directors. And when they meet again and they finally recognize each other, it is crazy. I think the final shot was of him like taking off his shirt, and you see like this massive black dragon on his back. Very, very attractive, as I have to say. Oh man, Choi Hyun-Wook. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, that's how we're left off with the first episode. I actually really like their chemistry right off the bat. I'll be honest, they have the good enemies to lovers feel. It's too early to tell what the romantic chemistry is going to play out as, but I believe both actors, they can spark chemistry really well. I like Moon Ga-young. I liked her in True Beauty, even though that show had a whole litany of problems. And Choi Hyun-Wook, I know he can bring on the chemistry really well. I think he really shined in Twinkling Watermelon. I also just recently watched Weak Hero Class for the first time. I know. I should have watched that show sooner, and it was remarkable. But he can spark chemistry with like a brick. So it's not that I don't think they have what it takes, but for some reason, for casting choices, I like both actors a lot, and I think both actors are strong, but you know where you just don't see it? Like there's something about their matchup that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And another thing that a lot of people have been pointing out is that Choi Hyun-Wook is very young to be playing a CEO character, but I believe it in a sense because he is technically a Nepo baby and he is inheriting this business from his father, and he comes off as the typical cheesy CEO that you'll see in a lot of these K-dramas, but he's supposed to come off this way because he's play acting as a CEO. He's doing this because he's actually forced into this, and his grandmother seems like the type of woman that you really can't refuse no matter what, and she's very hard on him, and they already hinted to some some generational trauma going on in this family, and the way that she interacts with him, there is really no love lost there. It's just a very cold relationship, and I don't see that improving as the episodes go on, right? So I can tell where people are a little irked by the casting for this type of role, but I think it's very much intentional. But I'm kind of at a loss with putting these two particular actors together. Like, even watching like the trailers and stuff and all the hype leading up to this, I'm like, I really can't see them clicking well as romantic pairing, even though both actors are traditionally very good looking. They both are very strong, and they have, in all their other previous projects, have sparked chemistry with their partners. So I don't know what it is. It's my thing. But that's one of the problems that arise. And I felt like in episode 1, there was so much I liked about it. And I liked the female lead, I liked the male lead. Yet I felt like there was so much idle time in the first ep that was spent in them in the game that was establishing their initial friendship before they, broke off until later in their adult lives. I felt like the gameplay stuff looked kind of corny, to be honest, and I just felt like my attention wasn't fully there as much as I would have liked. As I said, though, this is still a first impressions. This is the first episode. There is a second episode that's out. I'm going to stick to it because I do like these two actors a lot. I want another rom-com, but I I am hesitant only because in first impressions, sometimes I get it really wrong and I end up falling head over heels in love. But more often than not, lately, I find like if my first impressions of the show isn't strong from like the first episode, period, I feel like I'm going to have trouble with it. And I feel like I might have trouble with this show, which is unfortunate because I really loved Love Scout a lot. It was so refreshing to me, and I want something to replace that immediately. And I was watching Motel California, another K drama with another actor that I really liked, Nan-woo, and that show frustrated the bejeebus out of me. Like, I can't even get into it with you. So I'm kind of on tender hooks with my Dearest Nemesis. So I'm 50-50 on the show. What is keeping me there is that I liked the two actors separately. I'll put it that way. I know episode 1, you can't get like the big bombastic chemistry. Like, you have to give the story time to build. But there are romance dramas and shows that I've watched where like instantaneously, even if the characters are like fully enemies, I can feel that romantic chemistry even though they want nothing to do with each other right away. I can feel that. Where this show, I'm kind of like, I can't really see it with these two, even though I'm not supposed to see it yet, but I'll wait and see. If that makes any sense. Let me know your thoughts if you're watching the video format of this podcast on YouTube. If you have started My Dearest Nemesis, what do you think? Did you think the first episode was really promising? What do you think about the second episode? Quite literally after I finish filming and editing and my other social media stuff, I'm going to be picking up the second episode because I am very curious to see where the show goes. I'm hoping that my first impressions are not accurate and that as more episodes unfold, I get more into the show because I really like these two actors. I can't stress it enough. So I really want it to work. And there are some individual lines and scenes that I thought were really funny that I really liked. And I don't really want to get into too many heavy shows right now. You know what I mean? If you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please let me know your thoughts on those platforms as well. I'd really appreciate it. Till next episode.